Jocelyn has summoned her entire team to listen to her new song. Well, it's the remix version that she and Tedros worked on together last episode. She's nervous, texting Tedros about it, and in one of her texts, she says to him that she tried him earlier, so it seems as though he's been MIA, but she says she'll call him later. She tells her team that she's made the song her own, and she plays it, and the most vocal and critical person on her team, Nikki, is like, no, this is not happening. We have a hit already, we've spent millions, it's too bad that you don't like it, it's too late. We've also spent so much money getting you back on your feet, and so you should be grateful. The song itself it's kind of a nothing of a song. It has a lot of heavy sexual breathing, I guess, and other than that, it's just a pretty generic pop song. Completely frustrated, she tries Tedros again. Later, she's working on her song in the studio and she masturbates while listening to it. She talks to Tedros on the phone later then. He's getting his gross rat tail rebraided. He's playing hard to get, knowing that Joss is already into him. She asks to see him later and he says he can't. Then tomorrow, he can't, but he can see her the next day. So you can see that Joss is disappointed, but for some reason, she's taking what she can get. I mean, she's pretty vulnerable and insecure, probably still grieving, so yeah, we do know some of the reasons. Leia is talking to the blonde guy who works with or is friends with Tedros. They're chatting on the phone, getting to know each other a little bit, and I don't know, my first instinct is that he's creepy, mostly by association with Tedros, but we'll see. Eventually, Joss tells Tedros that they're going to go with the original version. Her manager won't let her release the remix. He tells her that maybe she should find a new team then, people who believe in her. Joss gets to her music video shoot 3 hours late because the makeup artists had to cover the scars on her legs from where she'd harmed herself, so things are already off to a rocky start. Anyway, after a few run-throughs, the shoot is not going well. Everyone is frustrated because Joss is struggling, the moves are off, her lip syncing isn't matching the music, and she tells her manager that maybe they can just can the whole thing. She doesn't care how much it costs. He's like, no, that will cost $450,000 and people will start to get nervous about you and your reliability. What are you going to do next? Are you going to pull out of a show? You need to show them that you have this. Show them that you are reliable. Side note, we don't know what Joss was like before the death of her mother, but she's deeply insecure and very anxious at this time, which is understandable. And in terms of her craft, well, she's just not a very good pop star here. As in, right now, the whole operation just looks cheap, even though she seems to be propped up by some powerful and influential people. She's giving more influencer pop star and less Britney or Christina at their prime. I kind of wish that we could get flashbacks to her in her heyday so we could see how all of this fuss about her is justified. Her management finds out about Tedros and the fact that he owes a lot of people a lot of money. He also has a shady background. He's pretty much a ghost online. Anyway, they're trying to get a handle on the situation behind the scenes. The shoot is still a disaster and Joss is apologizing over and over. She's growing increasingly frustrated because she can't get it right. They do their final take then, and after a pep talk, Joss finally gets it right. But the camera was out of focus the whole time, so she has to go again. At this point, her feet are bleeding, and her inner thighs are also chafing and bleeding. This is such a miserable show, my god. She calls out for her mom then in a moment of panic. She's really struggling, everybody can see that, but they're just wanting another take, pretty much. A woman in her management team, one of the nicer ones, gives her another pep talk. It's still basically just trying to prop her up, though. In the background, Nikki is trying to make a pop star out of one of Joss's backup dancers, the one who was out dancing Joss. She does have a really nice singing voice too. Nikki eventually tells Joss that it's time to go home. It's more because they realize that there's no way they're going to squeeze a performance out of her now. It's not really out of concern for her mental state, because she's been clearly unwell for a while now. Joss is desperate to not let everybody down, and she says she'll do it again tomorrow, but it doesn't look like Nikki believes that she can do it. She does try to reassure Joss though. Nikki does seem to have a plan B, and after Joss leaves, she tells the Vanity Fair journalist who's still there to write the story that her story is about to get a lot bigger. Kaim tells Joss that Nikki is scrapping the whole music video. She begs him not to give up on her, and she later calls Tedros and asks him to come over. By the way, Tedros is also sleeping with the backup dancer. Tedros and his entourage show up at Joss's house. One of the girls just goes skinny dipping. Tedros's blonde friend goes over to Leia. She's surprised to learn that he knows Tedros. Remember, she thought that Tedros had a rapey vibe and she didn't quite like him. Anyway, they all get drunk, they do coke and just carry on. The skinny dipping girl is in Jocelyn's closet trying on her clothes, Leia and the blonde guy start hooking up, but she asks him some questions and she finds out that Tedros signed him to his label. He doesn't mention for what exactly, but there was an earlier scene of Tedros coaching him, the blonde guy, to do what looks like, I don't know, a porn scene maybe? It's all very shady. While they're hooking up, Joss says to Tedros that she wants him to get the robe from last episode and have sex with her until he feels her start to pass out. Jocelyn is consenting to everything at this point, and she's even initiating some of it, but I don't know, it still feels like she's a victim somehow. I guess it's her general vulnerability and her being so attached to him that just makes this very uncomfortable. Tedros makes Joss do sexual things on the bed while he instructs her, and it's pretty explicit, but again, it's more cringy and porny than sensual or sexy. And I kind of wonder, is that the point, to just show how sleazy Tedros really is? Anyway, it's embarrassing. The other girl, her name is Chloe by the way, is in the closet and she's kind of masturbating to this whole scene. Leia and the guy are having sex in her room, and I don't know, maybe in another context this would be fine, but it's just all yikes. It's not good. Afterwards, Tedros suggests moving into Joss's home because it would be easier to work on music together that way, and she says she loves that idea. Joss overhears Chloe singing then in the lounge, playing the piano, and she really likes it. This feels like a Tedros setup. Anyway, they all go downstairs to join Chloe, and the blonde guy starts singing along. This is definitely a setup. Then Joss starts singing, and it's as though she's found her little family or something. She's a bit emotional. I think Leia knows what's up because look at that look on her face. And I think Tedros knows that Leia knows because look at his terrifying look. He knows that he's probably going to have to get her out of the way. Anyway, that was episode 2 of The Idol. If you have seen it, feel free to share your thoughts, and thank you for watching.